Hello and welcome all to today's session again at A.I.M Learning. Today at Pi Gujarat, we have Thom and Abdul with us, who are my co-authors for one of the blogs that we wrote on being a data scientist. Thom is a lead data scientist at UL, and Abdul has started his journey as a data scientist now at a healthcare system. So I would like to welcome both of them. Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
So before we move ahead, I would like both of you to introduce yourself.
you go first, Abdul.
Me? Okay. Hi, I'm Abdul Najeeb. I am a data scientist at Department of Healthcare Finance here in Washington, D.C. And before this, I was a junior data scientist at a startup called Unique Computing LLC. So I have I'm a pretty, my mind comes from a pretty fresh side of data science, and Tom's mind comes from more of a wisdom side, I would say, for the data science field. And yeah, we are here to share our journeys through life and how we came about to be data scientists. Thank you.
So I already need to correct something Abdul said. First, God made dirt, and then Tom Ives was born. So really, I'm not necessarily, maybe wisdom, but it came from too many hard lessons that I try to save my younger friends from. And yes, I'm a lead data scientist at UL Prospector. I lead a team of one myself, and that one person is very difficult to manage, but I do my best. And then I founded integrated machine learning and AI, which has become a huge blessing. I had no idea it would become what it's become, but Manpreet's been a big part of helping it grow, and appreciate her very much for that. And I'm eager to talk about the blog post we wrote together.
Yes.
Yeah, so moving ahead, we should start it off with discussing your journeys into the field of data science. So go ahead, Abdul, can you go ahead with your journey into the field of data science?
So I started when I was in India studying for mechanical engineering. I was doing bachelor's in mechanical engineering. So when I was in my second or third year, I was out with a couple of friends, and then we were sitting down, and I was like realizing that mechanical engineering is not like the future. Not That's not what I want to do. That's not what like is the interest and such. And in India, you really can't like change your courses just like that in the middle of your bachelor's. In America, you can do that, but in India, you could not. So I was sitting there with my friends and I was discussing what to do and what not. And they like asked me questions like, "What do you like? What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I love data, playing with it, and those sorts of things." And then I did like a more thorough research on what kind of roles are available, where the growth is in the industry, and data scientists came like the obvious answer from that research, small research that I did. And since then, I've like been trying to transition my career from like this so far mechanical engineering and so far data scientist to like merge it together. And it's been a tough journey since then because like I had to do mechanical engineering, then I had to do masters in industrial engineering, and then in my industrial engineering I had to like compete with my computer science graduates who had a bachelor's in computer science, who were doing a master's in computer science. And after like yeah, a lot of like my extra hours and curriculum and whatnot, I got like my first internship position at Unique. There I was stationed for like 1.5 to 2 years, almost, I think, yeah, 17 months or 18 months, if I'm precise. And over there I learned like the most of the from the basic to the advanced stuff. My manager, my CEO, he was really helpful with my journey. He was like a mentor, a guide, and he helped me through the transition. And then finally, last winter, I got a position offered from Department of Healthcare Finance, and that's how we reach here. Uh, I hope that wasn't boring. Tom, you go ahead.
No, that was great. Thanks. It kind of, by the way, Abdul and I are both mechanical engineers at heart still. But
Yeah, I didn't know that. And I didn't know that Tom is also a mechanical engineer.
but I started way back in the previous century, and you know, I think I really practically started learning data science my freshman year of undergrad. We just didn't know to call it that. We were doing least squares on data fitting, but we were doing it by hand. And I remember the first time I did a least squares fit in physics lab. I was in love. I thought that's so cool that you can fit this line through this data and minimize the error between the differences between your prediction line and the actual data. And during my undergrad, all the way through to the senior part, uh, I always took to the predictive modeling type stuff. Bond graphs, which is a graphical way to represent differential equations, which is the way we use first principle physics to um, do predictive modeling with differential equations. And I just fell in love with that. But now that I can see it all from a new perspective and look back, I realize, oh, even when you're doing physics based predictive modeling, all those first principle physics are built on basic, simple data science things. But we didn't call it data science back then. And then I went off to work for a while with the United States Nuclear Naval Program, went through the same training that a naval officer would, but then stayed behind and trained people. And something didn't work out with my career with Westinghouse, so I went back to grad. I went to grad school and really focused on advancing my predictive modeling skills. But at the time, again, there was nothing called data science, but I did have this one controls professor that I loved, and he was teaching fuzzy logic and expert systems. And I thought, well, yeah, Fraser's teaching it, and he has, I understood why he was teaching it, the motive. It made sense because there were certain boundaries we couldn't get around with conventional modeling methods. And then that led me into studying neural networks, and we got quite advanced in our coding skills for that. There was no Python. We were doing this from scratch in C and doing memory allocation. It was a bit painful, but C is an awesome language. And then over the years, just kept trying to apply my predictive modeling skills whenever I could, but it just kind of drifted more into a data emphasis. And it really took a friend pulling me aside to point out, Tom, do you recognize yourself as a data scientist? And I said, well, yeah. And he said, well, do you realize how hot that field is? I said, not really, because I'm horrible at keeping up with things. And so I started realizing, oh, I I could apply my skills and in this area more specifically. And I really wasn't that I didn't want to keep doing the predictive modeling in the physics realm. It's just that I was doing it more in the data realm, and I would have more opportunities to do predictive analytics and automate data flows with Python. So I was already migrating that way anyway, and then finally I ended up with a role that was called data science, even though I'd been doing a lot of data science over the years.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome to know that. Me myself started my journey by studying applied mathematics, where everyone used to like mock you and say, okay, you are not from technical field, how would you code, how would you do, how would you understand. And then now I'm working as a data engineer, so yeah, it's still a learning process. So as everybody knows that we have written a blog, and in that blog we have defined everyone's journey as well, including many people in that. Could you both share more about it?
Tom, would you like
Yeah,
to open that?
I'll go first. Yeah. By the way, I loved all the stories in there. I was really proud of Manpreet's story, especially. But the story I wanted to highlight is my good buddy Andrew Jones of Data Science Infinity, because he this is to Manpreet's point just a moment ago. By the way, it cracks me up that mathematicians in India are not considered part of technical area because STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, we always regard the mathematicians as part of the technical realm of arts. But um, so Andrew, now because you guys have only seen him on camera or in pictures, you wouldn't know that the guy is 6 feet 6 inches tall.
Hmm.
He's a titan, physically speaking. But he was playing in a cricket club, and one of his teammates was an analytics person, a data scientist, and he Andrew found it interesting that he wanted to do analytics for the club, so Andrew started doing it with him, and I can't remember which language he learned first. It might have been R, but he started doing analytics for the club, and then he grew his analytics skill, and before long he was doing incredible contributions for big companies, even on PlayStation 5 and such. But he grew into that role over time, and now he has his own company mentoring new data scientists, helping them know how to get into the field successfully. And I really like that because his story more than anyone else's shows how you can go from no technical background at all the way to high level cutting edge machine learning application in industry.
Yeah, his story is interesting because he took like a very daring step recently to drop your job and start like your career. That's like that's a very commendable achievement because it's not easy when you're like in like I hope like he's in like six figures and all, and you just like drop that steady stable income when you have like a family and such, and you just go on to like fulfill your dreams. I think that's like a very brave step on his side. Yeah, his journey is
Absolutely.
amazing, and it's gonna be more amazing now since like he has like all of this time to just keep sharing, making stuff, teaching people. That's like his dream, right? He's been in the industry for so long. He knows a lot, like a great person.
Absolutely.
What is your favorite story among the ones we wrote, Abdul?
Mine is of Thom, of course.
Apart from three of us.
I mean, I think apart from this, Andrew would be my favorite as well, because he comes from like nowhere. You wouldn't even imagine him becoming a data scientist, and he is. So that gives hope to like every one of us that why not you? Why not you? Why not you? Right?
Yeah,
So I love that about his story, like Tom mentioned.
yeah. My favorite one was about Suzanne Walsh and Gilbert, how they are reaching out to people and telling a different aspect of data that we don't generally tend to focus. Like people generally who are fresher into to this field focus on like modeling, predicting, and don't realize the importance of cleaning data well. So, what do you think about this, Abdullah and Thom? That how important is to know that data science is not just about building models, but it's a whole lot of field that involves a lot of things in it.
Yeah, that's so true. Um, I really spend I probably spend more time now than ever before actually building models, but most of my data science type work has been more like automating data flows, automating reporting with data. Um, there was sometimes some intense modeling here and there, and sometimes it bounced back and forth between physics based and data science based. Um, but I agree. A lot of times you just spend time wrangling code too, refactoring code to get things to work smoother. But yeah, most of the time it's cleaning and formatting data and getting it to tell a story.
Yeah, for me, it's more like people think it's more about modeling and predicting, but I can take an example of what I'm doing at DHCF right now. So DHCF handles Medicaid insurance. Medicaid is like the biggest insurance provider from the government to the United States people. So the DC department is handled by DHCF. So to even make a possible suggestion as to what to predict, what to do, you have to learn so much about the system. Like they have a Medicaid data warehouse with the data of I think 3-4 million people, if I'm not wrong. And that just keeps on growing with columns and columns and columns and columns of data, where they live, what complications they had, how many hospitals they've been to, and whatnot. So once you've gone through all of that, you have to understand what agencies are involved in getting this data, reporting this data, and then you have to see where in all of this, like a big mesh, I would like to say, you can fit in that model that solves that speeds up this process to this process. And that's a tough thing about being a data scientist, because you have to deal with any organization you go in, you have to learn it up to down thoroughly so that you can even make a suggestion.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like I started off as a data engineer and I was very scared of taking this position because I never heard of if because generally if you see people talk about being a data science lead data scientist or a researcher or something, but I never heard of a data engineer field in the field. And when I consulted Thom, I got to know it's a good start to your career. And now I realize because we do a lot of things from modeling things at the back end, getting data cleaned up and doing automated process to get data daily. So it involves a lot of things that people generally realize when they go and do work actually. So how would you suggest to the freshers out there, because Abdul, I know you know the Indian market more better than Thom. So how would you suggest a fresher to build up his profile, how he could look into the field of data science?
The thing with India is that there are a lot of brilliant people over there for sure. There are some people that I know that are younger than me, more brilliant than me. The fact where they, I think, try to lack is the confidence in showing off that skill, they they shy away. They're smart. They're smart. They're really smart, but they shy away from taking the opportunity to show their level, show it more often, And they start off with courses. Usually, that's what the most of the youngsters do. They start off with courses, and they get stuck in this loophole of courses. I mean, Thom must know how many people have come to him. What course should I do next? What course should I do next? Nobody comes up to me and they're like, what project should I do next? You know, can I start here? Can I start there? So whenever an Indian student, a youngster comes to me and tells me, hey Najib, you were in this situation, what did you do? So my path is, I wouldn't say everybody cannot take it. Like everybody cannot come out, do a master's. It's not feasible. That's not what everybody does. So where you are, like how we have described in the blog, where you are, start by doing a little bit of data science over there, right? And then after you've built up some confidence, start looking for the fields that are in data science, like image recognition, natural language processing, and AI, robotics. There's a lot of fields that you can apply it to, right? And then see what calls to you. What is your calling? It's I tell people, take 6 months to just know what's in data science. What is out there? It's like a jungle. It's a big labyrinth. It's so huge that you need time to even figure out what to do, and then see what you like. Like you might like automated cars, automated driving. You might like that stuff more. You might like cancer research more. You might like segmentation of population more. You might want to put data science into marketing, whatnot. There's limitless possibilities. That's what I tell most people. Start by learning, sure, get to know the field, and then start applying. As soon as you start applying, put it out there. Just keep putting it out there. It doesn't matter. You get bad reviews, good reviews. Anything is fine. That's like my go-to thing that I say people. And some come back to me after 7, 8 months. They're like thankful for the advice. Some are like, okay, I got stuck here. What do I do? So it's an iterative process. It never ends. That would be my answer for that.
Yeah, that was excellent. I say pretty much the same thing. I encourage people to develop and be master of their own learning plan. And, like our dear Geo would tell us, have your vision statement, but your
Yeah,
vision statement needs to guide your learning plan.
yeah,
And like Abdul was saying, there's too much to learn. So you've got to choose what you're going to learn, why you're going to learn it. And really, about 80% of that needs to be defined more by culture, or excuse me, more by your internal culture, which is your passion, than it needs to be by your aptitude. If you too concerned to follow your aptitude, you might end up being very bored in life. But if you follow your passions, you'll keep going. And I agree with Abdul. It's not about what should I learn next so much as if you find a project that you really want to accomplish, even if it's just a scikit learn practice data set, those are really good things to practice with and learn from. And if you start with those and get good at the ones that you really like, then once you've mastered those, you can go into Kaggle competitions. And frankly, if I were looking to hire people, I'd look for people that had a lot of good Kaggle placements. I wouldn't necessarily look for the winners either, just someone that was consistently, doing
Exactly.
good or just
learning.
showing, yeah, learning and showing
Sure.
projects.
I told
Um,
Tom this great line, like, oh, sorry to interrupt you.
no, go.
I told Tom this great line that one of my marketing friends had introduced to me, and he loved this, so I'm just gonna share it with everyone as well. Why not? Um, Companies hire people who are most visible, not the ones who are the most hardworking, and that's so true. Like, I was hired because I was the most visible. There are definitely way better people out there than me in my age group. Like I know that for sure. I know that for a fact. And I was hired like over everyone because I came into their radar. If you don't come into people's radar, then how do you even get accepted? Like how do you even get to the position of even facing them if you are not even on their radar? So it's very important to just be visible, like Tom explains.
And
Yeah. So
and
like,
but we
yeah.
need to
Go
give
ahead.
credit. We need to give proper credit for that statement. It comes from the infamous Louis Owen out of Indonesia. And yeah, he said it basically, it's not the best data scientists that get roles, it's the most visible.
True.
Yeah, so coming to that point, I know you both post daily a lot on LinkedIn about your learnings from your respective fields. But then, do you think this is called visibility, like posting everything on LinkedIn or posting valuable things on LinkedIn that can help the community out there? And how do you plan out this content for the community?
You want to go first, Abdul?
How do you let
How
me
do we
rephrase
plan
that.
our
How do
posts?
we plan or post on the community, right? So one best place to reach out to people of working class is LinkedIn. Like many Indians have started using LinkedIn recently, but it wasn't like a big thing. Like I at least when I was in engineering, right? But now it's becoming more and more prominent even in India and the US as well. One is that. Second is you can start your own blog post, which I haven't done yet, but like I plan to do in the future. Since I am like so busy, I cannot do all of these things right now. But somebody who has the time, they should like take out to make like a website. Um, and third would be Kaggle competitions, like Thomas suggested. But that's even like a more advanced stuff because Kaggle competitions at this point have just become like the leaders, like running in the back end tens and trillion and thousands of models on like cloud computing and stuff. And I don't think at this point you can beat like the really good competitions. Like I don't think so. But if you are consistent and you like go out there and just do the projects that somebody else has done and just show them on your post or LinkedIn. Those are like the two places I feel like people are looking out people for. If there are any other sources, maybe Tom could shed a light on it.
No, what I actually meant to ask you was how do you plan your content on LinkedIn and the thing you told, that visibility that you get into the radar of the people, is it that when you contribute valuable things to the community is how you get visible? Because
Okay.
sometimes things get misinterpreted in a lot of ways, that people might think, okay, I'll take someone's post and publish it and do things, so that's called
Okay.
visibility. So
That's a
what do you
great
mean?
question. That's a great question. So, what my thing would be a little bit not typical because like I spent 1.5 1 year almost doing research, right? So by research I mean like hardcore research, like reading research papers and such. So I during the span of like a year or something, I did like 2,500 to 3,000 research papers and like summarize them and put out them for my employer. Now, that was my learning curve basically, right? And what I learned from there, I start to see what are like the basics where people can start. And I have like a OneNote in my PC, and I have like planned for like 3 months or so what I have to post, right?
Oh.
And then when I'm like when the list becomes too big, I leave it. And then when I feel like to post, I take that up, make it into my own words for like 15, 20 minutes or most because like I've done so much, it doesn't take me much to understand, right? So it's just wording for me. So it takes me 15 to 20 minutes to go through that. And then I used to only pose on business days before I got super busy. Now I think I'll come back slowly, but yeah, that was my thing. I couldn't post on weekends because I would just enjoy on the weekends, right? Because I love to do that. And that was my thing. Like that's how I used to plan. OneNote, have all the topics that I know that I can explain, and then take that topic, which I feel is like today feels like this topic, take it up, read more about it, understand what's going latest, 15, 20 minutes spend on that, make it neat, and then just put it out there and then share it in uh, our group system, which is like a very healthy community. So that helps. And that's how it reaches people. That's my procedure. Very simple.
Nice. Now, for me, I guess I got to a point where I realized, oh, I have a lot to share, but I don't have an online presence. So I started my own blog. And I started with stuff I was just passionate about. To me, I looked for at the blog space and I said, where is there a hole? And I noticed that there were a lot of times you would see code, but you couldn't just copy and paste it and run it from a blog post. And I thought, you know what I'd really like to do is figure out on my own from the basic math, the conceptual math down to the deep math, all the way to complete working code. And so I started out with posts like that and realized they were really helping people. And then I got involved in LinkedIn. And at first, I just started following people I liked and encouraging their posts that I thought were good. And then I started writing a post here and there. And but I reached out to encourage some people that I thought were really giving to the community, and they just basically invited me into their groups, and we kept encouraging one another, and it became like a team. And then someone I can't say who it was, but their initials were Robert Jane, got onto me for not posting more. And I said, okay. And then I went to Manfred and I said, do you think I should post daily? And she said, absolutely. But then I still kept with the same theme. I just looked for what's being said in the post and what is missing and what can I add to help fill in the holes. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just meant, the even though we write so much, there's still certain themes that go unspoken about. So I started focusing on, I actually followed Tina's good example. I started writing more about what I was learning, what I was trying to challenge myself with. And I spent a lot of time posting that kind of stuff. And actually been very pleasantly surprised that people want to follow my learning journey. And I'm encouraged that what I'm writing is helping people. But I don't mean this negatively. I actually enjoy the memes, the data science memes and all that. But I really am looking for things that I write about that I, I wish someone else was writing about. And so, well, you can't just wish someone else is writing about that. You write about it and go on ahead and expose your weaknesses in that area. And so some of them have become, uh, now I have a series for each day of the week. It's been quite a
Yeah.
journey.
I love that. Your creative mind is like exactly like what I would just like take out, fit in mine, because that's like so hard for me to do. It's amazing like how you've come up with all of these series. Like what my focus with my posts usually is how do I put this like super complex stuff in this person's head super easy. Like that
That's
Like a
awesome
layman
now.
could understand.
exactly, because like short posting is like a format where every word counts, right? So you can't be writing gibberish, you can't be writing like a blog to explain every little detail, right?
That's right.
So that's like the everyday challenge for me that I tried for myself, and I think I went for like 3 months consistent. At one point, Manpreet called me and she was like, "How are you doing this? What are you eating? What are you drinking? What are you doing?"
Yeah,
And that was those like my busy days, and then I got like this position, so I had like interview prep to do and whatnot, and I had to change like a home and stuff. So I left doing that, but I'm gonna get back into again that factor because you gotta keep
yeah,
brushing it. It's like a muscle, right, in your brain. You gotta keep polishing it, and if you don't do that, it's just like coding. If you don't do it for long, you just forget. So
yeah,
if you don't keep posting, you just forget. And I'm probably like planning to come back with like 7 days right now because I think I can maintain that now. I'm gonna see. It's still a work in construction, and I'm gonna be planning themes like you. I'm gonna be calling you and I'm telling you, give me one of the themes that you threw on your paper and threw it out. It'll work for me. Just give that to me. I'll
yeah.
probably try that.
It's
I
like
actually, oh,
financial.
yeah, I'll just
Sorry.
say real quick, Abdul, I actually really liked your postings, and I found that you and Tina were very much alike in the way that the things you chose to post about.
Yep, me too. Whenever she would post it out, I was like, I would just see my OneNote and it was right there. And I was like, oh, I can't do this now because like it might look like I'm just like taking inspiration from her post. So, because like data science is a vast field, right? And of course things overlap. But like everybody explains things in their own way.
Yeah,
Some use visualization, some use words better, some have been using examples to explain. I kind of like try to do all of it, and like I see like what basically like you find the missing holes. I find like how did they miss on explaining it in a more simple way. That's like my go-to thing mostly. And I have
so
no
I,
like,
idea how do you keep up with everything. Like I have no idea.
yeah.
I have no clue. Like I know
but the,
I keep up with a lot of stuff, but I don't know how you keep up with more and more above that. I don't know.
wait, is he talking to you, Manpreet, or me?
No,
I'm
he's
talking to
telling
you.
you. So
And
how do you keep up with your job, your learning, your posting, and everyday learning? Because the data science field is growing every day, new research work coming every day. So how do you keep yourself updated? I know you have been doing this transformer learning. You learn, you post, you share, you work also. So how do you manage everything?
so I just want to dispel any myths right now. I don't.
There are no clones.
It's like the balanced life is a myth. Sue is very supportive. She knows, because we have a big family, and we're single income, my income, and she knows that I need to study a lot and be involved in the community. And but what's nice, guys, I want to share this with you. If I hadn't formed that learning group, and if Dennis hadn't joined that learning group, and if Robert hadn't noticed I was doing that and got me an early review copy, what I'm trying to say is because I'm very active with the community and sharing what I'm learning and why, the community responds to help me. And I'm super, super grateful. And so I even have this young woman that's like a daughter to me that I over whelmed with questions one night recently. Her name is Manpreet Bhutraja, but I was saying I can't look at this diagram, and then they're teaching this, and how does that get trained if they do it that way? And I overwhelmed her to where I think she wanted to get out of NLP. But anyway, I'm constant. And by the way, for a while there, I was pestering both Dennis Rothman and Jay Alamar about this one specific point. But why? Why is this right? And it took Dennis helping me. You're being too anal, Tom. You got to look at it like the Lego pieces are smaller than you're thinking, and it helped a lot. Dennis is a super wonderful. He's my big brother, and but the community, the more you get involved in the community, the more they want to help you. And I try to help everyone that comes to me, but sometimes people want to ask more detailed stuff. So, but how do I manage it all? I would say I barely stay afloat. I'm not getting to everything I want to do, but I try to keep picking the things that are most important each day. And of course, people are the most important. But of course, my role for UL is very important. And it's because of my role with UL and the enormity of the task that I'm trying to work on, the complexity of it, that I'm trying to learn transformers because I think they would solve my biggest need. But it's a gamble. It may be that I can't solve that problem with transformers. Right now, I think I can. So it I have a wonderful manager that I report to, and he's very understanding that my field is not software development. It's a lot of trial and error, experimentation. And so he's very supportive of that. If I have to go to him with my tail between my legs in a few weeks and say, Alec, I took a big gamble. I thought transformers would help us, and it's not. I'm going back another direction. He said, okay, Tom, thanks for sharing. Keep going. And
That's amazing.
it's nice to have that level of support.
I've talked to one of my
Yeah,
course about the same thing. Like, data scientist is not like a person that you just like give this and you produce this, right? It's more like
yeah.
give this, try this, try this, try this, try this,
Exactly.
and then maybe you produce this. If not, again, just like try this, try this. It's like that. Um,
It's like a whole cycle. You give it to production, you see, you get error here, you again do some changes
it
and see,
is
and then
reactive all the
it's a
time.
continuous process of
Yeah, because like
cycle.
what might work on your local machine might not like scale up nicely on production, and like you might
Yeah,
have to deal with those issues sometimes. Sometimes it's just like some error is just coming up, and you have to just sit down and get it done. And sometimes it's just like you don't even know where to start, but you have to start somewhere.
yeah,
And yeah, your managers have to be supportive of that. They need to know what a data scientist is there for. He's not there for making magic, right? He's there for research and trying out different stuff. That's his main, his or her main goal.
I'd like to
yeah,
share real quick one. What Abdul was sharing really inspired me to share this. A lot of people say, where should I start? So we'll really master the basics and understand the mathematical concepts and the math and be able to code really good. I say that over and over, but the reason I say it is the most exciting times in my career was when I was able to take the concepts and my coding skills and come up with something new based on my understanding of the concepts that worked. For example, coming up with new clustering algorithms that were specific to your needs, coming up with a solution to something no one thought could be done, coming up with even something simpler than word embeddings and being able to find the closest matching document among 60 plus thousand documents. All of that's with just basically understanding the concepts and understanding the tools and doing the best you can. When you get to where you can do those kind of solutions, it's just fun. And it doesn't mean that you're smarter than everyone else. It just means that you, like Abdul was saying, you kept trying different things and you used your educated guessing to get to a great solution.
Exactly. That's really important.
so Adding to your points, I want to ask you, how do you feel your work environment or your managers affect your personal growth? Because I've been encountered with people who say that they don't get time out of their work to do their personal studies, or some companies do not allow them to do such kind of things or share things. So how much do you think that a supportive environment at work hampers your growth or help you grow more?
I
I'll
mean,
answer.
like,
I'll answer that. I've been in plenty of
sure.
toxic environments, and Abdul, please don't
Yep.
be afraid to say you had a very different experience. So, in one role, I was kind of put out that no one thought this one problem could be solved, could be automated, and I started working on it in the evenings because I was afraid to even let anyone know I was working on it. So I didn't work on it at work time. I just worked on it in the evenings, and I started doing very small tests to see if I could get it working. And then I got it to a certain point, and I don't mean this negatively toward my manager, but the worst thing I did was share it with my manager, because then he wanted me to get an intern that really couldn't handle helping me at the level that the work needed to be done at. And then I had the intern present it, which made a lot of internal people angry because they were like, why are you working on this? Not even stopping to ask, oh, are you working on this on your own time, or were you work? And it was a very frustrating experience. But in the end, Manpreet, I pushed through and got it working. And but it was like an uphill battle culturally speaking. So my advice to anyone, if you're in a challenging environment, then don't do the development in the environment. Do it outside the environment. It was my own private skunk works, but I did get it working, and it was exciting to get it working. And anyway, but then there's been other times where I was completely supported, and I could do it during work time. But I'd say don't let it stand in your way. Do it if you're really passionate about it. Take it out of work hours and develop. I didn't kill myself, but I got really excited about it too. There would be nights I'd only work on it for 30 minutes. There'd be nights I'd work on it for 6 hours just because I was so excited by the results. But you just got to balance, try your best to stay balanced.
I would like to come from a different perspective because I know what like Manpreet is asking about. The public she gets is from India, right? So the thing is, with the demand of the managers over there, it's like it's like it becomes really tiresome after a while, right? So you gotta have a plan. Like, of course, I didn't reach here of just 40 hours of work just like that, right? I put in 80 hours, 70, 80 hours of work for almost a year. And after that is when I'm like comfortable right now to do my stuff my way, however I want to, and it's comfortable, right? In the US, it might be the time that you have to do that kind of stressful environment might be less, but everywhere it has like a cap. Even in India, you somewhere you reach a point where you have to like when you stop, where your manager stops not abusing you, but like sort of like treating you as a junior and like starts giving you respect, right? And you got to know when to stop, like when to know that okay, I've given this company 80 hours for like a year and a half, and now I think I can just like ask, okay, I cannot work more than say 9 hours or 7 hours or whatever. You start deciding that, but don't go first expecting something. In India especially, don't do that. Be humble. Be like, because like there are so many jobless people, right? So be humble. If you're even doing some work for someone, just be humble first of all, and second of all, just grind. Like you have to grind if you want to get to a place where you are comfortable. You have to grind. That like there's no going beside it, through it. It's not possible. You might not get time to learn, but like you just have to, it's like a you just have to do it kind of thing. But that's like the basic of every starting career, right? Everybody who starts off has more energy, more passion than someone who's in the like um senior, super senior years, right? And you'll get there. It's just that don't give up. That's like I would say. And like I said, know your limits. That's like one thing.
Yeah.
People don't set limits, and they like keep getting abused for their time constantly. It becomes like an habit for them.
So, like coming and adding to this point, work life is something where we earn and learn and grow our careers. But what do you think about having a personal brand name that we were discussing earlier about posting on LinkedIn? Do you think with work we need to also have our own identity that people know us by, not just by a person who is working at certain place or certain something like he's a data scientist at Google or by name like something. Do you what are your opinions on personal branding or your name that a person should work or should not work on?
I'll go first, and I want to just quickly say, Abdul, I really appreciated what you shared. And I got to echo that even early in my career, yeah, I had to behave that way. And but I do think you can have as much passion or more later in your career. But to the point of a personal brand, do you absolutely have to do it? No, you don't.
No,
But it's super helpful if you decide to do it. I just think it's best if you try to do it a certain way, and that is to be a contributor to the community. I love a story that I heard Ben Taylor share on a show we were on together recently about how some people oversell themselves on the resume, but a lot of people also undersell themselves. And he is able to determine through an interview how strong someone's background is, even if they're not interviewing well. And he still, when he finds a great, talented person that has no skill at personal branding or selling themselves, he works his butt off to find a place for them. And that's what I'm saying. If you interview enough, if you get your resume out there, you don't necessarily have to have a personal brand, but it helps.
it does help, especially when you're in like a situation of the Indian population where everybody has an engineering degree. Everybody, like everybody, a farmer's son to the richest person has an engineering degree in India, right? So the value of that is next to nothing in India specifically, unless like you're like coming from IITs or like NITs or stuff like that. So you have to have a vision for yourself for sure. You have to start somewhere with the resources that you have. Of course, everybody won't have like an i7 PC or like everything given to them, right? People are not that fortunate sometimes, but like you have to start at your level, what best you can do. That's probably like the best thing that I can say for most of my Indian folks, Indian students that keep coming to me and keep asking, where do I start? What do I do? And that's like one of the things. Personal branding is way ahead. People think you have to start with it, but I personally feel it's like way ahead. Like after you've built up your firm core and you've like, you
Yeah,
know it inside out, like everything, that's when you start to build your brand, right? Because because you're not starting a YouTube channel, you're starting a journey to teach someone, to guide people, and to become better. Correct? So you have to be at a certain level first. You can stay your journey. That's not a problem. But that way you would not benefit a lot of people. In
yeah,
hindsight is 2020, right? People say like the vision in hindsight is 2020. So you gotta go through the grunt first, learn from other people, and then be like, okay, what better now I've learned from these people could I have done? Could I have done? That's how it should be.
yeah.
That's what I feel.
We have a question from one of our viewers. Preet, what do you support? Project based learning or research paper based learning?
Yes, I'd love to answer those or questions with yes.
Yes.
In other words, which one are you most passionate about? I have a young woman that's like a daughter to me that does a lot of research paper based learning, and I'm very
Yeah.
proud of her because I struggle with that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it
Manpreet, by
was
the
so
way.
good. It's so good to know that Abdul was also into research and he has read a lot of research papers. I
Yeah,
guess at
the
the end, do you believe that at the end is something that is your own preference of learning? Like I'm a person who more into learning by doing projects, learning new concepts. Some people do courses and learn. So I guess it's what is your preference? Experiment both things and see what suits you, and then go
yeah.
ahead.
I think I have an answer for that. So, great question, by the way, Preet. Many people get stuck and in the project-based learning or the research paper-based learning. With data science, I feel you have to do both. That's like A1 priority. You cannot just keep doing research paper-based learning. What do you mean by research paper-based learning? Why do you do the research to complete the project, right? Or like to implement in your project.
Yeah,
So until you learn and then you don't apply, you won't know how hard it is. You won't know how to do it. You won't know anything about it. Correct? And many people they shy away from talking to the researchers. I've emailed tons of researchers, Japan, Indonesia, Tunisia, Afghanistan, like from all across the globe, and they respond. They respond. So if you're like trying to implement something in a research paper, go out there and start like asking them, the experts. They are the experts. They are the people who literally wrote the paper. So ask them instead of Googling if you're stuck.
yeah,
And most probably they would. If not, you at least tried. So
yeah.
it's a combination. There's no fixed answer, Preet. I'm sorry. There's no fixed answer. Learn and apply to your project. I guess that's the answer.
Another way to approach it is just ask yourself, am I learning everything I want to or should learn? And if you're not in your current mode, switch your mode up.
Correct. And if you want to do
Yeah.
like PhD, then you want to do more research papers based learning, right? And if you want to be into industry, you want to do more project based. So it comes down to preference. So whatever you want to do, it's up to you.
Yeah, but then it's the same thing. Like while doing a project, you need to read about concepts, you need to read how different techniques could be applied. You search about a lot of things that with this model, what feature engineering can I do? You read about things. So it's reading and implementing is the base we can conclude to this answer too. So one more question we have is what data science books can you recommend?
Have you read a lot, Tom? I hope you have.
So, one that I like to recommend because you can find it free online and it's tried and true, and just a good standard is Tom Mitchell's book on machine learning. If you just Google Tom Mitchell machine learning, it's free, it's downloadable, it's well written. I know Giuseppe still swears by it, so figure, gosh, if even Giuseppe likes it, it must be good. But there's just so many good courses out there too, video courses, blog post courses. And I would say a lot of people are worried about, well, which one should I do? I said, well, several. Don't try to learn from just one. And but
Yeah.
also it's really important. You don't have to do it right away, but do try to get deep into the math eventually, because that's where you get that deeper conceptual appreciation about what's going on. That's how, when you need to do something unique and a little different, a little clever, you now have a clue how to do it because you know the math and how to code it up well.
That's the
Yeah.
thing, yeah. That's really important. The math, like people forget the math a lot of times. Not a lot. I don't even know many people myself who even know the math behind backpropagation. And that's like one of the basic, super basic data science logics
Concept.
concept that you learn. And you want to be like perfect at it, or like at least recall if you see it in front of you. And many people don't
Yeah.
even do that. That's okay to some extent, I would say, but when you get to like super
Deeper.
research, super advanced stuff, it starts to pick on you. So knowing the math is definitely important, not super important, but you have to get to it sometime, like not right now, not like what, like what are Gaussian models, but how do they work? What is the gradient descent? Why is the gradient descending? Like why? What is letting it do that? What's the algorithm, right? What's the math? So you have to get behind the very specificity, not right away, but like some point for
Yeah.
sure. And as far as data science books goes for me, I personally haven't read many data science books. I read some books from Packet. I read online posts. I do courses. I still do courses. Like even after I know so much, I still keep going back to my basics, do those courses, like because like I am scared that I forget. I'll forget. So I always keep going back to the basics. The basics keep getting easier, but you never like learn all of it ever.
Yeah. So,
Just a
like,
quote.
if you go the next time, you would find another perspective to that concept. You might
Correct.
have not
Correct.
known at the
That
first
is awesome.
first learning.
Awesome. Yes,
Also,
that's like the best
Doctor
line.
recent Dr. Angela Baltese on LinkedIn. She's a lot of people follow her, but she's very open about how she was discouraged along her path, and now she's a doctor of analytics, basically, but in the microbiology field, or no, that's not exactly right, but bioinformatics, I think, is what it's called.
Yeah, I
And
think that
but she makes a big point that the people ask her, "Why are you taking that class?" Because I need to constantly review. She doesn't
Yeah,
even, you know, try to apologize for it or explain it other
yeah,
than that.
you
And I
like
feel the same.
that's true. You have to keep going back. Like I always keep going back because like I'm still new to the field, I would say, relatively, of course. It's just like 2 years, I would say, at most. So I still keep forgetting a lot of stuff. I keep forgetting a lot of stuff in coding as well. I don't remember everything, but I now know how to get it
yeah,
faster. That's probably the better way to say. So when people come to me with their problems, I tell them instead of like reading books on books, eventually you're gonna forget it, right? So at least learn how to Google stuff, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I like it's such a big resource. It's a search engine, right? And people don't utilize it fully. I have people coming with problems that could be solved in like 2 minutes if you just like use the right words and all. So I can tell I have the experience. Okay, cool, but it'll take you maybe 15 minutes, right? So just start Googling, and once you do it, that path is like fixed in your mind. So when you run into the problem again, you go back to it. You keep Googling, and you eventually make something that is working. That's that's
yeah,
how it
and
goes.
yeah, and with googling, you might come out with something that you might have you are not searching, but you will come out learning that new thing out of it, and you're like, oh, this is also something that I can try in my project or
You most
workplace.
definitely will. I feel books are important. Like I read a book for learning Python, right? And but after that, I haven't read. I wouldn't say like I've sat down and read books because I've read so much research. You can make hundreds of books out of that itself. So I didn't really need to like sit down
Okay.
and learn.
Yeah. So before we end this session, thank you so much for joining us. But one last question: what would be the title of your autobiography, if ever written? What would you like to have your book title or your autobiography would be titled as if it's written? Because you have written a blog post on people's story. So if someday someone writes about you, what would be it titled as?
What would be your title, Tom?
More together.
More together. Mine would just be like I'm dead, and it would just be like still learning. So something like that. Yeah, because I'm
Yeah.
always just learning. I'm gonna be learning till I die. So probably
Yeah.
that's life.
Yeah, if mine would come, it would be your degree doesn't define you. Keep learning, keep growing.
Keep learning, keep growing. Be that. Follow
Be
the
to
code.
have.
Be to have. Follow the code of the blog post. Be to have. Once you have it, just repeat it to get to the next stage.
Okay, thank you so much everyone
Thank
for
you.
joining us, and thank you so much everyone who are watching this. Um, Hope to see you next time with some other people joining us. Until then, next time, bye.
Bye.